Hello, homeschool friends. My name is Ashley, and if you're new here, I am a homeschool mom to a third grader and kindergartner. And on this channel, that is all you're going to find. Lots of homeschool planning, inspiration, very Charlotte Mason inspired content on this channel. We are very eclectic though, and we like to pull in from just an array of different resources to make our homeschool just fit for us, right? I like to pull in a little Waldorf, sometimes classical, but mostly Charlotte Mason. So in this video, you are definitely going to get a peek into that eclectic side. I will say the math curriculum that we've used in our homeschool has, for the most part, gone really, really well. We are definitely a Right Start family. I've been using Right Start this is our third year, using it with my third grader, and it's worked really well for us. I did start out with a Charlotte Mason resource that I'm going to talk about that also went well too, but what I found with Right Start is that it is wonderful at mental math, number sense. It uses so many different manipulatives, which for some families may seem a little overwhelming or frustrating because it is a very just involved math program. It is very teacher heavy and doesn't come with a lot of independent work for the child. The workbooks tend to be on the smaller side. They're not doing a workbook every day. For us, it's just gone really well. And I think that a part of that is because I have found this program very easy to teach. I'm not particularly very math-minded person, but for whatever reason, Right Start has not been an overly complicated program for me to teach. And I really appreciate the way the entire program is laid out. So with that being said, this is our core math. I am using level C for my third grader, and I'm planning to go into level A for my kindergartner as soon as he finishes up the Good and the Beautiful K, which is his core curriculum. I'm just kind of hitting these core pieces right now in the beginning of the video because this video is actually more about how I am incorporating some supplements that are spicing up our math year a little bit and making it a little bit more fun. Because as well as Right Start works, my daughter is a little burned out on it. She's been using it now for her third year. And the Good and the Beautiful Math K, in my opinion, is like one of the most boring math programs I have ever come across. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to be one of those people that adores the Good and the Beautiful math anyway. And I think it's just way too much. There's just like too much unnecessary content in this that's not math related that I think is just kind of frustrating. And I think too that it's too stimulating. There's too many pictures. There's too many colors. I prefer workbook pages that are just very straightforward like this. And I found that my daughter prefers that too. It's just very clear about what the instructions are, and it doesn't have sort of this like unnecessary backstory that the Good and the Beautiful tends to have. This has worked well for my son though, enough because he's still so young. You know, he's only 5. And so sitting down for formal Right Start lessons was not super easy when I was trying to do it with him as a newly 5-year-old. This was just quicker, and there was a lot of it that I could just skip over and just kind of like start to nail down those kindergarten concepts that he's already fairly strong in, but just to like lay a really solid foundation before starting with Right Start, which is a little bit more, which requires a little bit more of the child because it's so hands-on. So if that makes any sense. Hi guys. So while editing the video here, I've actually made a little bit of a change that I just want to note now so that I don't have to do an update later. I've decided not to use any more of the Good and the Beautiful Math K after yesterday's lessons and just flipping through the rest of the program, you know, I've quit this program twice already and I just can't handle how chatty the program is anymore. All the backstories with the problem solving, or just with like introducing a new math concept, I find so aggravating. Oh man, just this program really drives me nuts. So I'm shelving it again, and we have not touched Right Start Level A in a few months now. So I think that we are going to come back to it for my son and then see how he does. So could this be enough? Yes, absolutely. I only used one math program pretty much for my daughter last year, and pretty much only one for my son too, you know, like at a time. And so what I'm going to talk in this video about is not necessary. But I will say that so far we're entering our 4th week of homeschool. It is definitely my kid's favorite. The program I'm going to talk about is my kid's favorite school program right now. And I feel like I really just wanted to hear my daughter when she was saying that she doesn't like math. You know, I hate that. That sucks as a teacher, to hear your kids really loathe one of their subjects that's such a crucial subject. And so I was really hoping to change her mindset on math by bringing in this program. So the program is Wild Math. I bought the 1st grade and the 3rd grade. My son is in kindergarten, but he does, I think the 1st grade Wild Math anyway does suit his skills better. And then 3rd grade, you know, it has been perfect for my daughter. I don't want you to be confused by the picture. I changed the picture than what was on the 3rd grade program because I just preferred this. So I don't want to confuse you if you're like looking for the snail and you don't see it. It's a different picture. Okay, so how am I using this and what is it really like? This program's been around for a little while. I don't know how long, but I want to say like less than 10 years, but maybe like 5 or 6 years. And I've learned a bit about the program creator. You know, she herself had a son who might have been struggling with some of this more formal math and just needed something that was a little bit more exciting and hands-on. She has grades, I believe. Okay, I'm going to say up to 6th grade, but I could be wrong. It could be higher. I will leave it here if I'm wrong. And this is, if you want it to be, a 5-day-a-week math program. That is not how we are using it. We are using this on Fridays. I'm calling it Wild Math Fridays. And I don't know that I personally could use this every day as a core math program. I think it could work, definitely. I think that there are enough concepts in here to build off of. But it is definitely teacher intensive and a lot of prep work and requires a lot of planning. For me to incorporate this once a week has been a lot of planning for me, for sure. And so this is a really easy program to pick and choose what you want to do. It is not so much, it does come with a schedule. It's a suggested, 4-day-a-week schedule. And it does have the skill that you might want to focus on each day of the week. It does have a specific activity each day of the week, and it does have the materials you're going to need. This is not at all how I'm using this. I'll show you. So the schedule is one file PDF that you'll get, and then you'll get another file that is all of the activities. It has a whole introduction about the program and the recommendations on how to use it, how to dress for it, the math kit that you're really going to want to like put some time into putting together. I will mention too, before I get into this, like before we started using it, I actually went out, because my backyard is great, but it doesn't have all of the materials that you might need. So like I went out on a hike or a walk. I took the kids with me, which was good. And we collected tons of sticks, like small sticks, miniature pine cones. I will eventually go out to get acorns. It's just not the right season. Let's see, rocks, like you're going to want rocks. So that's just like some of the natural materials that you're going to kind of want a lot of. So like for some of you already, this might be like, I ain't doing it. For us, it's definitely in our wheelhouse. It's all good. Other materials you're going to need. Okay, so I'm actually going to grab my math kit to show you everything that's in it, because I will say this probably has more math manipulatives than my Right Start program. I'll be right back. Okay, and so like this isn't totally necessary because we've been enjoying the program so much. I'm happy to like fill this basket with the materials that we need, but you do not necessarily need to get separate things. A lot of the stuff you will already have at your home. Okay, so I got us a yardstick, which we actually did not have. This math curriculum requires like a lot of measuring, which is cool. I mean, measuring is such a core math concept in the early elementary years. So I have like all of the measuring materials you could think of. I got us a few rulers, a separate measuring tape, because like if the kids are going to use ours, you know, my husband is just going to be looking for it and be frustrated. So all of this stuff is living in a basket on our deck. So it's all together. I also got another ruler. We haven't used this yet, but I got like one of those like fabric measuring tapes, loose measuring tapes, whatever you would call this. So we have all of the measuring. And then on that note, I also recently bought us some plastic measuring cups. So these are just like, I don't care if they get messed up, they're cheap. You know, if they get dirty, that's fine. I don't want to use our kitchen ones. So I got these, and then I also got these measuring cups. So same thing, I just don't want to use our kitchen. A timer is recommended. Although to be honest, we've just been using the timer on my phone, and that's fine too. They definitely recommend having chalk. So chalk gets used a lot on like the sidewalk, or you can draw chalk on rocks, you know, trees, whatever. So we've got some colored chalk and white chalk. They recommend having string. So we've used string for already a variety of things. Having like the hemp string is good. Have some pencils in your kit and just like some notepads or scrap paper. They recommend getting like some big lawn dice, which look really fun, but they're like 25 bucks on Amazon, and I'm just not ready to get those. So we have some dice from this Think Fun company, like large jumbo colored dice. And so those have been working well for now. They recommend having some change for some fun money counting activities. And that's pretty much it then, aside from like the natural stuff. So like I have a bag of sticks. I have also bundled a lot of sticks into bundles of 10. I have a bag of pine cones. I have a box of rocks. And that is what we are working with so far. Okay, so you've got your kit, you've got some things to work with. This file that you'll get is all of the different activities that basically correlate with the schedule. They're not, and I will say it's maybe a little complicated, they're not broken down into like week 3, day 3 activity. It's really just like you've got the concept that the child will be working on that week or those several weeks, like counting and place value. And then she will have bullet points of all of these different activity options for you to choose from. So I will just go through with a highlighter and highlight the things that I think that my kids are going to enjoy the most. I'm not so much relying on this to cover or to cover any kind of schedule of concepts, math concepts. I'm relying on our core math for that we do 3 days a week. And then I use one other resource supplement that I'm going to show you that I rely on to make sure that we're covering the concepts that we need to. I am really solely just bringing this in to bring in some fun to our math so that the kids can see not only can math be fun, but it can be found everywhere. And that's why I'm loving this nature-based math program, is to really give the kids a strong sense of that. Okay, so that's, I mean, I don't think that I'm really going to give much of a flip through of this. I'm going to show you some video clips of some of the activities that we've done. And then I'll just mention too, so like this is 3rd grade. The 1st grade is definitely a bit different, but like I'll say there have been 1st grade activities that my daughter has really wanted to do. And then there's 3rd grade activities that I can simplify for my son to do. So do you need both? Not necessarily. I think like it's nice to have a lot of options. And so I'm happy to have both programs, but I think that you can either simplify or accelerate the 1st grade or 3rd grade, you know, depending on, you know, your kids and their ages and whatnot. So that's definitely an option. I just have a folder that I taped. I didn't want to print out this whole file. I'm just doing it week by week, or maybe like I might start doing 4 weeks at a time, looking through the file, printing off the pages that look good. And then I'll keep them in my working binder. And then whenever I finish a week of activities, I will put it in this folder so that I can save what we've done and basically look back on it for just like records or for memory's sake. All right, so I want to just like hit a couple of the activities that we've done that have been really fun. So I'll show some clips. One of the really fun ones was I took some of the change and buried it in a big pot of dirt, and the kids had to dig for the change one at a time. And once they found all of it, for Woody, I kind of drew out with chalk like a grid of and put coin value cards on top, so like penny, nickel, dime, quarter. And then he categorized, you know, the coins and sorted them. And then he would tell me how many pennies he had, how many nickels, how many dimes, how many quarters, and so on. So that was his activity with that. For Poppy, she did the same thing, but instead of sorting the coins, I had her count them out and tell me how, like what the grand total was. So that was her sort of like accelerated version of the same activity, right? Let's see. So another fun thing we did was rock stacking. There's a lot of fun skip counting activities in Wild Math. So I had them, what did I do? I think I set a timer for 3 minutes and I had them stack rocks in groups of 3. And whoever had the most stacks of 3 rocks at the end of 3 minutes was the winner. And then I had them count by threes to figure out how many rocks they had stacked. So that was fun. You have to have, I mean, you don't have to have kids who like competition to do this math program, but I will say the timed or turning any activity into a timed activity for my kids works really well because they're competitive and they like a challenge. Okay, so another fun thing that we did, the osprey hunting game was really fun. Osprey are a type of bird that hunt with their feet. And so for this challenge, I poured out this bag of pine, like little mini pine cones into a pile. And then maybe 10 feet away, I built a simple like nest out of sticks. And you are supposed to each be an osprey and at the same time, you know, set your timer. Whoever can collect the most pine cones and bring them back to their nest using their feet is the winner. And so I think we did it like in 5 minutes, you know, whoever brought back the most in 5 minutes. That was one that I played with them several times because it's very fun. Okay, so that was great. Let's see. We recently did a place value exercise. This was more of a first grade one where my son, okay, so I had to hang, I still have leaves from the tree. I hung like 9 tens from one tree, and then I hung single digits 1 through 9 on the other tree. And this wasn't meant to be a timed exercise, but he wanted me to. So I set the timer or the stopwatch. And he wanted to see how fast he could grab a 10 from one tree, grab a single digit from the other tree, and then he needs to put them together as one number and tell me the number. So he might grab a 10 and a 9 and put it together like this to show the 10s and the 1s and say 19. And then he would collect all of them and see how quickly he could do it. My daughter wanted to do that one too. So that's, pretty simple for her, but it's fine. Like I said, I'm just trying to make math fun 1 day a week. Let's see. And then after he had put together the numbers, I grabbed the bundles of sticks I had made, and then I would say, okay, I want you to make 19 with the bundles and units of sticks. So he would grab one bundle and 9 sticks and so on. So great place value activity for sure. Something I did with my daughter that day for more 3rd grade math was I had her see how many steps it takes to walk down to the mailbox, and then to figure out how long it would take for her to walk there and back, she had to do basically those steps times 2, which is, for her was just some challenging mental math that I was really impressed with. And she was really proud of herself for coming up with that number mentally. And then I gave her a tape measure and had her measure to work on some subtraction. I had her measure different things in the yard and to find their difference. And I had her record those things in her math notebook. So like the apple tree stump was so and so many inches compared to maybe the stick. And then she, had to find the difference. And then, teaching her again inches and how to abbreviate that. I also had her measure with a tape measure the height of the house. We live in a single story home. And she found that. And then I'd ask her, okay, well, if we had a second story, how would you find out how tall the house would be? And so it's, that number times 2. So yeah, the measuring was some good activity for her. Some other things that you can do with that we did with the dice and the chalk. I mean, I wouldn't say the kids were super excited about this, but having your kids roll some dice on the pavement. And then, so for my son, I might do 2 dice. He rolls it and then put them together and have him write the number in chalk. For my daughter, I was having her do 3 dice. And then for myself, I was doing 4 dice and, so on. So again, it's a way to either simplify or challenge a higher grade with that kind of math. So that's pretty much as far as we've gotten. There might be a couple of activities that I am forgetting about, but there are so many gems in here. I am very excited to see how this continues to play out for the rest of the school year. The kids are always excited, for Wild Math Day. But I will say, because I have a 3rd grader now, I did feel that I felt that the wild math was challenging my son enough, especially because I got 1st grade. But for my daughter, I kind of felt like I just needed to bring in a little more formality into her math because we only homeschool 4 days a week. So I didn't want to lose a day of math, even though it's the 3rd grade is great. It's good. But I also wanted an excuse to use this other supplement. Really, that's all this is. It's just an excuse to use it. But it's really positive too. And I think that it's bringing in a little bit more of that formal math that I think is important for 3rd grade. So I'm talking about Simply Charlotte Mason's arithmetic books. I love these because they're beautiful quality. I used the book 1 for my daughter in 1st grade. This was her core math actually for several months until I discovered Right Start. And I just love how simple this is. It really only calls for a bag of change and some easy math manipulatives, some buttons or something. And she learned a lot of great mental math and word problem math with this book. So I hated the idea of not using it. Even though we've got these core math programs, there is a beauty and simplicity to these books that I really missed. So I didn't use book 2 ever, but I got book 3 for my daughter, which is third grade math concepts. And I was trying to figure out how I'm going to use these, but I just started last week bringing these in as like a 5-minute warm up to wild math. So I laid out a blanket in our backyard, and I have the change or manipulatives if I need them. And then I will just ask the kids, like for instance, for Poppy's third grade, and this was really simple, but we just started it, so she's just doing review. The first lesson is review addition and subtraction with smaller numbers, so just easy word problems. There are 7 apples on a tree. If 2 are picked, how many apples remain? Which for her is really simple and sometimes a little frustrating, but I think it's good to. I think it's always good to review, but we have not done a lot of word problems with Right Start. It's definitely not at all heavy on word problems, and word problems are so important because our real world math tends to be a word problem very often, like with work and stuff. So I'm happy to be bringing this in for that. I found that we were able to get through 10 questions pretty easily, like within 5 minutes. The level 3 does require more written math, so I will have a math journal for that opening warm-up on Fridays, and she will likely be having to do a little bit of written math. So I don't anticipate this is going to be anything that the kids love, but I just find that it is really strong in those areas I mentioned. And I just love being able to grab a book and go through some math drills that are really necessary. So this does then get into multiplication and division and fractions. It's great. Book 1 is mostly about learning numbers 1 through 100, but I will say it gets quite challenging about halfway in when you are starting to do a lot of word problems with 63 plus 28, things like that. So, I mean, it is like first grade math, I guess, but it definitely does start getting challenging. In the beginning, it's really easy. It's like, how many 1s are in 2? 3 take away 1 leaves what? How many 2s are in 4? I really love these books. I'm really glad that I'm finding a way to implement them. All right, I'm not done yet. I have a couple other creative ways that I'm bringing in for math this year. I'm just really on a mission to make sure my kids don't end the school year by saying, we hate math, like my daughter did last year. Okay, so one of those things this is a program I tried out at the very early part of last year. It's from a wonderful company called The Beauty of Play. It's very Waldorf inspired. As much as I love the Waldorf, so much of it, I'm not even going to really say methodology because there's a lot of the methodology that I am not educated on. There's a lot of the creativity really inspires me with Waldorf, and the gentle approach to learning. The Beauty of Play's multiplication and division is full of a lot of just like activities for learning multiplication, many of which are really out of our wheelhouse or are things that I am not very comfortable with or just very aware of. But I really appreciate them, and there's a lot in here that I would like to explore. There is one project in here that I know we're going to do, and if I don't get to the rest, that's totally fine because we are covered for math. The one project I want to do is a multiplication flower book with my daughter. We started doing a multiplication flower last year, and then the program itself, I just couldn't figure out how to implement. There is a template back here that I will work off of. So I'm going to make her a little main lesson book that's just for this project. And for once we start getting into multiplication with Charlotte Mason and Right Start, then I will probably take a bit of a break from all of the math, and for maybe, I don't know how long this would take, maybe 10 days or so, we will do a multiplication project flower book where I wish I had an example. I will show an example on her webpage here of what that looks like. So you're basically finding all of the multiples of, say, 2, and then you would put numbers 1 through 9 here, and then 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, and so on. And then you just use a lot of color and you make it really pretty. And then she has like this final project of all of the multiples of, say, 1 through 10, that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to that project. I think that she will enjoy it. I'm going to try to do these things alongside of my kids. I find that typically goes over better. I have this little math notebook that I am keeping around to just write down ideas of different little units that we can do with math this year. There's one I'm excited about, and I'm waiting on a resource to really start planning it. But I want to do some more nature math using this book, Math in the Garden, I think it's called. I think it's out of print, and I was able to find a copy maybe on Thrift Books. I don't have it yet, but I've heard it's really fun, and I love the looks of it from what I've seen. So there's so many different ways to use math in nature, math in gardening. But there is one particular project, I don't even know if it's in there, but I have a feeling it will be. I want to do a project that is math in, that is geometry in nature. Geometry is not really my strong suit, and my daughter really didn't enjoy it last year either. And there's going to be quite a bit of geometry this year in 3rd grade with Right Start. So before starting that unit, I want to do a geometry in nature project. And this is inspired from Chrissy at A Little Glam, A Lot of Mom. I'm not sure that I can show her pictures on my channel. I'm pretty sure you can't, so I'm not even going to do it. But essentially, she did this really beautiful main lesson, finding geometry in nature. The kids would be outside, they would take some pictures, they would collect specimens, and then they would record how they were finding shapes in nature in like a main lesson book. She also had a short unit on the Fibonacci sequence that she was doing with, maybe like her 3rd or 4th grader. And so that was like another little subunit of the project, learning that sequence, and then really going from there into like how spirals are found all over nature. Maybe we can try to find our own spirals in nature, do some nature notebooking or main math lesson notebooking around that. She had this incredible project where she laid out like a big piece of cardboard, and she had set up all these materials to do this like hands-on play of the kids making their own spirals in all of these like different really creative ways. It's hard to explain. But that, if you are at all curious about Little Glam, A Lot of Mom, and how creative she is with her kids through math and language arts, check out her channel for sure. So I just basically have it noted here in my little notebook that I want to take a break from our math to do a geometry in nature study that I'm really excited about. Okay, also one more resource I wanted to show is picture puzzles with Cuisenaire rods. My daughter might like this, but I was thinking of my son when I got it. I recently showed this in a haul video. You use the Cuisenaire rods that I got from Learning Resources, comes in like a bucket. Each rod represents a different number, numbers 1 through 10. And this is just such a cool thing. So basically you solve the equations for across and down, like 3 plus 0 for A across. You would find the rod for 3, for the answer, and you would put the rod there, and then you just keep building to form the picture of what this is. And then if you didn't want to lose the picture, you could take colored pencils that are the same color as the rods and color it in so that you can save your picture. This is, and it's simple, like 4 minus 2, 0 plus 5. So I'd say, this is could be used for kindergarten for sure. Okay, so I wonder if the beginning ones are easier. Yeah, okay, so it looks like it gets, for sure, looks like it gets trickier. The higher you go, because here you're getting into 2-digit subtraction. But in the beginning, for the first maybe like 10, I would say this could easily be kindergarten and first grade. So this is just like a fun little supplement to bring in. I am feeling less pressure around math to like finish a curriculum, especially for my kindergartner. I am like more than happy to just use a bunch of fun resources for him. I do feel a little bit more pressure to finish our Right Start with my daughter, which I already know that we will because we've been able to skip the first several lessons that were too easy. And I already know that we will finish this by the end of the year easily. I don't feel any pressure to finish these. I'm sure that we will be using book 3 into next year for sure. Okay, so that was my very long spiel on my math plans this year. I have never had so many math plans before, I don't think. But I just feel really good about where this is going this year. Making math more enjoyable for my kids feels like something that I am going to be able to accomplish. And I hope that maybe I was able to impart a little bit of inspiration for you along your math journey with your kiddos. If you have any questions about any of these resources or the videos I've mentioned, anything like that, leave it in the comments. I will see you there. And thanks so much for watching. Okay, see you soon. Bye.